All right, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever you are currently at and watching this video for our next lesson 48, which continues with our news journey, part 3 of 12. There are going to be quite a few lessons still focusing on how we compile and how we write the news. Today, you can go and have a look for reference in Beyond Powerful Radio by Valerie Geller, page 259 to 264 in chapter 22 for traffic, as well as in the next level radio, which is chapter 5, writing and reporting for traffic, 199 to 204, and reporting for weather, 204 to 206. So let us get started. You can obviously guess what we're going to be talking about. So the focus on the traffic as well as the weather itself. It's quite a short lesson, but we will elaborate further. So let's begin. Okay. So, when you are talking, just a little bit of an intro. So, the traffic and the weather, even though they seem like very fundamental and almost obsolete elements to be chatting about on radio because everyone can find them on their smartphones and immediately just look kind of, well, we've always been able to kind of look outside and get a feeling for when we are in gridlock and where we are, in terms of weather, if it's cold, if it's hot, or if it's it's a blatant middle of summer and it's blatantly hot, um, or it's the very, Basque middle of winter and we're extremely cold. How is this of any relevance to us? Well, if we look back at the Rams, studies and stats always prove us wrong, and we look at, let's say, what is most popularly listened to when we look at radio consumption, traffic, weather, news, and financial indicators, all these elements that do make up our news elements or our news bulletins, including our sports, are right up there with music. And so that means that if you consider the product itself, so the radio product, if you had to imagine it without any one of these elements, it would almost feel really, it would be weird. It would be very peculiar as to why someone that is considered a journalist, right, is not reporting on the traffic situation or not reporting on, what degrees we're currently at or what highs we're going to hit or whether it is snowing in certain parts of our country and whether there are hazardous weather conditions in certain parts of the coastal towns. Whatever it may be, it doesn't seem quite right if it is left out. We've had a number of different, I say, iterations, which means different types of forms and different types of takes on how news, again, sports, traffic, weather, financial indicators are all compiled and then presented on a station to the listener. And then, like I say, in previous lectures I've mentioned before that this is experimental, so they again have shortened them, they've made them longer, they've used more sound bites, they've decided to use trending hashtags, they've decided to include different commodities, they've decided to include um, different currencies. They would also do maybe an extended, business report, maybe at 6 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon on certain stations with the business, like a business expert or one of the journalists that are proficient in the business sector. So, it all depends on the audience as well. So we look at, let's say, audiences that, for example, in this particular business report, we would look at stations that are having to deal or are broadcasting to an SEM that's rather high, I would say more than 6 and above, that maybe are concerned more about, let's say, stocks and stock values and what the JSE indicators are and so forth, right? So we'd look at stations, for example, like Kaya and 947, that might have these elements in their again in their daily news. I say broadcast, so we're looking at, let's say, anywhere between 6 and, like I say, 7 in the evening. And then again, these elements again are contextually relevant to the audience. How do we make it relevant to the audience, right? So again, we have obviously seen the relevance of news so far. We haven't looked at sports broadcasting yet, but I'm quite sure that it's going to come up in the next couple of lessons. But we are going to look at, like I say, the traffic and the weather. So if we eliminate the traffic, if eliminating traffic, sorry, is not a choice, your listener is going to be affected by it. They're going to be affected by it because they participate, like I mentioned, every single day. If you're on a commute and you're not necessarily, let's say, working from home, or you're not someone that I suppose like stay at home mom or dad or whatever it may be, the chances are that you are going to be affected by traffic, and that is going to affect. It's going to have a ripple effect on your day. So let's say, for example, a lot of us from Pretoria, we commute to Joburg. The rate of Joburgers that now commute to Pretoria has also increased as well. That N1 is a monster, considering the load shedding effects as well, especially obviously during high peak traffic hours. So, for example, anything that starts, I'd say, around 5:30 to about 7:30 in the morning, very high peak traffic, depending on where you are on that N1 specifically, or that N3. I think it's the N3 down in Durban, um, and so on and so forth. The N2, wherever it may be, right? But let's focus on the N1. And again, when you are returning home, right? So again, that might start from it's about 3:30. It does actually start. I can tell you that for sure because I'm part of that particular group of people. To about 4:30, 5:30, 6:30 is when it starts to slow down, and you get some traffic. You do get traffic. You just get like free flowing traffic, and so we just anyway check our phones first of all. I definitely check my phone before I even start the car, just to make sure that I don't get on the road kind of blindly and get stuck into gridlock. I'd rather have the GPS kind of guide me in the way forward. First of all, if there is a heavy congestion and there are a lot of incidents, for example, as well, I would probably tend to have my GPS on. And if I am listening to a radio station, I would also see what they would recommend. Why is that important? You're saying, well, I've got the GPS. Well, a traffic reporter will have access to more advanced software, more intelligent software that, like our TomToms, etc. I always say TomTom because, I was always been impressed by the advanced nature of TomTom, where the traffic reporter, which is like I said, they are a single entity on their own. So it's a single job on their own. When you are looking at traffic reporters that are dedicated throughout, let's say 6 to 12 and 12 to 6, maybe in the evenings, but they have access to this, and then they'll obviously doing those traffic reports depending on the consistency throughout a certain show, right? But they'll be able to tell us really great alternative routes, and for famous I say famous or popular bypass routines, right? So when I say that, so if you are traveling, let's say on the Joburg or the N1, so to say south, that means you're traveling towards the Joburg area, the N1 or the N1 North to Pretoria, right? We'll find routes like, for example, on the Old Pretoria Road. Many of the times we might actually go onto the R566, I think it is, on the far end of, I mean, like you'd have to go towards, let's say, Four Ways and stuff. But anything, people will avoid traffic if they can at any cost, because again, it is just such a bummer, man, when you're starting your day, when you are in the middle of your day, or at the end of the day. Once again, I just want to make one last point before I carry on, because we are planning our day. A lot of us have to be somewhere at some time, right? So, for example, just imagine lecturers must be on time for class. It is, I mean, if we are a little bit late, we'd phone because we're stuck in traffic, and we'd say like at least 45 minutes before, because it's realistic, and saying that we can, like this is not going anywhere, kind of stuck, trying to find alternative routes. And again, I'd probably picture us, because we do listen to the radio to kind of assist us while we're sitting with our smartphones, etc. Right? Okay, so it is relevant and it is useful at the end of the day, right? And we'll get to the weather in just a moment. But traffic can be an integral part of information for personality brands. Again, it is that way that we touch into the listener's lifestyle. We're talking about lifestyle always. That is the key word for creating a connection to your listener. And as long as traffic reports have revenue attached to them, right? So you'll normally see that Outsurance brings you the traffic on whatever station, right? And then they'll do the billboard, and they'll do the top and tail for that in any kind of way that they find appropriate, whatever it is, or to their station's format, or the whatever it is, the execution plan. But it is because, for example, in a drive time show, we'll have traffic reports at least 4 times an hour, as well as the headlines. We'll do a short traffic headline update at the top of the bottom of the hour, and so it's a great place to kind of obviously brand yourself, and then get that consistent subliminal message into the listeners' heads and mind space, or mindset, right? Okay, so programmers appeal that management to cancel the traffic service will likely fall on deaf ears, right? If you think that you're coming in and trying to do something new, it's been tried and tested before, it didn't work, and so this is why we are where we are. Our stations do a lot of the research. Again, not just only on what content should be put out, what music we should play, but also again to the fundamental elements of how we construct the news and all its sub elements that we attach to it. Okay, so there are many car manufacturers, fast food restaurants, other types of businesses that value that fast paced live delivery of a traffic report in real time on air when they have a captive market listening to the radio in their cars, right? For this reason, the sponsorship of traffic reports are brought to you by, right? And again, I just said that it's a really good way to obviously put yourself in a listener's mindset or mind space when they're line of sight, right? Okay. All right. So just by virtue of the traffic report being on air as a piece of audio product that thousands or hundreds of thousands of listeners will hear, well, it is important to coach traffic reporters on how to deliver better reports that are not very clinical, not very robotic. Once again, kind of describing what is happening in detail. If there is an accident or there is a collision, of how many cars, how many lanes are blocked. Are they again? I mean, because if we've got 3 lanes that are blocked on a obviously like one of our bigger highways, again, like the N1, we know we're going to be sitting for quite a long time. Roadworks, for example, that happen on Saturdays and Sundays will really, I mean, that stints your entire day, and roadworks normally are, uh, they're quite heavy, I say. Like I said, when they do block over, let's say 3 or maybe even 4 lanes on the 5-lane highways, right? Because they know that fewer people are traveling, and so kind of like that cause and effect of how many people will be stalled for the day. Well, they'll obviously just they'll take that risk rather, and not do it during the week. So, once again, as I say, the traffic reporter has to be on top of stuff, but also, once again, tell us quite colloquially, in other words, in an formal presentation, just tell us what's happening on the road, tell us where to go, tell us why we are stuck, because once again, there could be a mass collision that includes, like I say, multiple vehicles, and it happens during drive time, like peak hour time, and we are sitting far away from, let's say, where it's happening. I only laugh because it's not a great thing, but one of the things with having been stuck in traffic, as you know, that might be a 3 or 4 or 5 even kilometer delay, is that you won't be able to pass certain off ramps that you might slowly just like saunter over or past on your way or throughout that traffic. And so you'll see, as you know, of your own experience, and many people will just go crazy. They'll just take the emergency lane, they'll take whatever routes they can take. But you do assist them, and the whole thing is to again help them save 15 minutes, help them save 7 minutes. You don't know that kind of appreciation that you do have when you had a really long day, a really long week, a really long weekend. It's only Tuesday, and you have that assistance, from a radio host. Like I say, our anchors, our traffic anchors. Spending some time on them usually has a dramatic effect on traffic delivery and success, right? Okay, a good traffic report contains real-time information about anything and everything. So again, that might have a potential to increase. So we do use our systems to kind of forecast as well that this will get worse. If you have again noticed that maybe you're driving your own car and you are, using, let's say, Google Maps to try and navigate your way through, if it is a gridlock situation, you're getting stuck, the one thing that our GPS systems can't actually aggregate on, let's say, I'm saying at a base level. So we're looking at systems that are free, like Google Maps. You might have a particular version of a TomTom in your car that isn't, it's like an entry level. It might not be able to, well, I know Google Maps definitely does not know how to measure gridlock. So you'll just keep on seeing that time increase and increase and increase as you're sitting in one spot, right? And maybe moving 500 meters every 7 minutes or so, right? Um, but it should, like I say, the traffic presenter should tell you that there is congestion, where that congestion is happening, and what is causing it. But it should also focus on only, not only a major fatal accident and natural disasters or several weather phenomenons, but also definitely those subpar road conditions, poor visibility on the roads if there's smoke or fog. And we've seen that now in winter. Definitely some misty mornings that have been quite heavy, to drive slow, everything that has to do with your commute to, let's say, a certain place from point A to point B. You want to be able to delve into that and really give your traffic bulletin a lot of life. Citywide power outages could be one, short time to traffic lights, detours, roadworks, special events leading to road closures, protest action or marches that close off certain areas of a certain sub area, whatever it may be, right? Um, Everything that we can find to build a proper traffic report that, once again, is rich and it is useful and meaningful to our listener. So there are different expected peak traffic hours. As I said, there's a difference between lunch, school pickup times, right at the end of or at the time of a major event. We should also be aware of that. Like we say, we might have rallies that are happening. We might have concerts that the station is holding. And so we want to kind of also assist further, add some value in terms of a service and how we are, not only holding the concert, but also helping people. And we even have some allocated, traffic experts, on the roads, um, traffic men and women that are assisting, just the congestion around and in and around that particular event, for example, that we might be holding. Traffic reports are also typically very limited, or time limited, should I say, airing at the end of a news bulletin. Again, that kind of headline, or during a busy half-hour bulletin or content-packed drive show. So, for example, not only will we have the headlines, like I said, the major the big incidents that are very, very, I said, that big cause and effect, where people are really stuck, and then we do want to maybe again just assist them with that precursor. Be aware that it's going to take you this long. There has just been an accident again, on the N1 northbound, a kilometer before I suppose, Allendale off ramp is a good example where things normally happen, on the new road exit, or the Buccleuch interchange, or there's so many of them, right? That you would want to bring that in, not wait actually maybe for the 12-minute past, 10 past, update in a drive or a breakfast show where it's already too late now. The person's spent the 10 minutes commute and now they're stuck in and get really, they'll get peeved, a little PO'd, right? Stations that broadcast this type of information to a national audience would be restricted, right? Because you've got an entire country that you are dealing with. Even though if we look at Five and Metro, there are traffic reports, right? And they do their best. They do their best and then what they do is they alternate, right? They'll alternate between the cities as they move around. And I'll mention, let's say three, maybe four incidents in certain cities that obviously are key or major incidents: Cape Town, Pretoria, Joburg, Durban, Port Elizabeth, and Bloemfontein. Uh, whereas regional stations can actually start focusing on like a Muckleneuk, or, for example, like a Hazywood, or whatever it may be, right? Okay. So the thing that makes a traffic report more credible is the why and the how of it. So telling someone not to take their regular routine to work will never be effective or helpful without them telling them why you should not that day, right? So why this will not work on a particular day. What can improve on matters even more is being able to tell them how to avoid the delay, and obviously which routes that they can use. Don't use one alternative route, but use maybe two or three. That makes a lot of sense, because people don't only commute in one direction. They might commute partly, let's say, north and then go northeast, or north straight to east or west, or north and north south. Well, there's no such thing as north south. Okay. Right. Okay. So all the information that you do need to compile and present a traffic report can be gathered from engaging with or monitoring the feeds of local, regional, and provincial traffic departments, or information sent to you via calls, text, emails, WhatsApps, and other social media from road users and computers. So we have, again, a lot of active listeners that have, let's say, so you must imagine yourself as a virginal active listener that hears, that there is an option to communicate with the station and with the traffic reporter, where you can obviously send your reports, and they'll try it. And let's say it is mentioned, let's say it isn't necessarily on one of the main highways, but it's somewhere in their community area, and it is, again, there's power outages, that it is a complete mess. And so someone from, again, like a citizen, kind of citizen journalism, at the end of the day, are reporting to help and assist you. And so you can include that. When they hear that on the radio, they'll be like, cool, I'd like to do this even more, whenever I can. It's not like you're going to say, oh, well, Chris has reported, and we'll just be like that. There have been reports from our listeners that something has happened, not quite yet available, or probably reflecting on your traffic apps, or your what is this thing? What is it? What is Google Maps actually called? I don't know. It's it's a something app. It's a commuting app. How about that? Okay. Primarily, this information is sourced from the internet. Again, so if you're in community, you can only use places like itraffic.co.za, which, when I do traffic reports with my students, I say, cool, like it's a great site. It's quite comprehensive. It's updated like in real time, so we know exactly what is happening, and we can get the closest possible, I think, closest possible credible and accurate report from incidents on the road, right? Okay. And that will be in community radio, campus radio, where you don't have the facilities, or you don't have the resources, you don't have the money to go and, let's say, pay, let's say, one a traffic reporter on their own. Anyway, it is voluntarily done. I'm saying it's a voluntary role to be a news reporter at community radio, as you are already aware of. But again, it's kind of that whole thing about, do we have the budget, and is it really necessary at the end of the day, when we can actually just include these elements in our traffic reports and within our news reports, news bulletins as a whole, and just do what is expected of us to the best, very best of our ability. And again, once again, you're not, because all of that kind of information, like I said, with the detours and the roadblocks and the even the traffic cams. I mean, if you go on itraffic.co.za, you can actually switch between different modes and actually see, well, there are a lot of traffic cams that are, or that are available. I think it's more on the N1 south, right? Than it is on the N1 north, which is crazy. There's like a whole bunch of them. When I activated that the other day, as part of showing how the third years would have to go on air right now, which they are currently doing, and doing their little bits here and there and all the elements. I was like, wow, there are a lot of cameras, and I do understand suddenly why I have so many traffic fines. Okay, all right. So if you look at the example, example 5C on page 202 of the Next Level Radio, you will see that there's obviously an example of simple traffic reports. I just want to grab my textbook here. Okay, so if you read along with me, you'll see on the top of page 202. And I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm just going to go through. Well, I mean, it's a bit lengthy, but I'll just give an example from Cape Town. And now, if we look at your roads, in Cape Town, in Khayelitsha on New Way, there's a crash on the bridge over the N2 with a right lane closure. So you will be affected if you're traveling into the city. Trains on your southern lane are experiencing delays of between 10 to 15 minutes. So allow for that extra travel time and prepare yourself, right? So, as I've explained to you, that's very conversational. It's very helpful. It's quite detailed. It tells us how long we're going to be waiting, that we can experience those delays. We know that it is being affected if you are traveling into the city. Again, that kind of we're writing this to speak to the listener and not just bolting out just stats here and there. There's on the N1 northbound, there's a crash enclosure, whatever it is, whatever it may be, right? That is blocking 2 lanes. Finished. That doesn't really. That's why people then gravitate and switch off. I'm saying even mentally to a traffic reporter that doesn't actually have some follow through, that doesn't do more than, like I say, Google Maps. Kind of just put that as your litmus test. Traffic reports need to be stories that traffic reporters are telling, right? So they need to be content relevant. They make the traffic reports kind of fun. When I say fun, it means I'm getting joy out of what you are giving me as a helpful tip to make my day a lot easier. Credibility makes all the difference. Be on time and get it right, right? So if, let's say, there has been an incident and it has been cleared, so we might find often, that's another thing for using your GPS and using Google Maps, is you'll see this incident and you'll be dreading it because this is the only way that I can actually take in terms of a route right now to where I'm going and where I need to go, right? And then you start to get closer and closer to that red marking on Google Maps, and you find that there's actually nothing. And you will, one, obviously, let's say relieved, which is great. Okay, can you imagine of the opposite, if I had the opposite situation, right? If it's all nice, a nice little green color, or I think it's a blue color, right? And then you suddenly are stuck in some kind of accident, right? Anyway, both of them tell the listener to depend less and less on that particular source that has supplied them with that information. Traffic announcing and reporting can also be a great entry into broadcasting. So if the more that you make this, again, the process is quite similar. I've got some content. I'm going to definitely add some dimensions to it, right? And then I'm going to present that to air so that the listener can understand and can digest that as best as possible. It's kind of the same as doing your own content for your own features or your callouts, whatever, right? Same approach. If you work for a traffic service, well, you may have a chance to add news writing and anchoring to your list of skills, right? And as long as there are people and cars, there'll be a need for traffic report, most definitely. Okay, just get to uh, slide 9. Okay, listeners respond to and seek accurate information. Okay, so we're looking at our traffic. We're going to segue into weather, definitely from here. The conversational mode I've covered, definitely. If you just make it more palatable for me. Just tell me what's going on. Tell me where it's happening. Tell me where I need to go. Right. Information is not good enough unless it is useful. So just remember that. If you have ever been stuck in a traffic jam, you know how vital the information is. Again, because we want to be able to be the listener's friend. They want to love us at the end of the day, and we can get that love. We are love seekers, attention seekers, and we are definitely attention grabbing uh, human beings, professionals, right? We want their attention, we want their love, we want their support and their loyalty. And so we've got to put ourselves all together, right, when we are doing this. Be on time. Here's some work ethics for you. Compiling and reporting on the weather allows people to prepare for the day, week, and even month ahead for the comfort of their homes. When we talk about the month, I think we're being a little bit exaggerative there because you do know if you just follow on a daily, like the weather, you look at your, the weather app that comes part and parcel with any phone, any smartphone, right? You'll see that the temperature does it ebbs and flows. Like tomorrow might look like it's 30 degrees or 23 degrees, but it will change definitely as we enter the morning, of the next day, because temperatures are so unpredictable and we can only predict to a certain extent. But everyone also knows that as well. Let's say you are planning something for the weekend. It is Tuesday. It looks like sunny skies all week. 10 to 1, you are going to experience sunny skies on the Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, right? But if you are having kind of like irrational weather, maybe there is a little bit of rain or there's thunderstorms. You can look at the humidity and obviously the percentage chance of, let's say, more volatile weather. Then maybe it's not so great to kind of predict maybe an outside event for the weekend. Looking at, let's say, like a Wednesday, maybe you're having a party of your own. Maybe you should look at doing it indoors and maybe not outdoors, right? So again, what is this all about? Why do I carry on? It's about the lifestyle, right? The lifestyle, lifestyle, lifestyle. So I'm having this big birthday party. It is my 20th birthday or my 30th birthday, my 21st, which is a massive event. And it'd be nice to have it outside, right? You go pay all that money, you set up all the equipment, and then all of a Sunday, because it is September and we're going to have that shift actually between winter and summer. There's going to be a lot of rain that kind of comes somewhere. It could come end of September. It could come in early October, right? We don't really know because we don't. If you look at your conversations, what do we speak about the most? The weather. The weather. Man, it is hot. Man, it's cold today. Oh, yeah, I can't. Like, this is heat that I've never experienced before. Oh, I love this weather. I love this time of the year when it is just it's warm enough. It's that little cold brisk in the evening when you can have a nice proper sleep with not having to worry about if the lights go off, that you need a fan and you're dying of the heat. But just that nice just that nice cool feeling, and then you know this nice cool heat during the day. It's a conversation starter and definitely a conversation filler. So know that we do talk about the weather a lot, but because our life is affected by it, right? Not only do we help them wear the sunblock and tell them, listen, take an umbrella. I haven't seen a person with an umbrella in forever. I haven't used, or I don't think I have had an umbrella in decades. It doesn't matter. Um, but it's quite romantic as well. You can, weather can be romantic once again. um, and they're kind of like very very soft rain that's going to be happening. Great for great for an indoor get together with your family or friends or with your with your loved one, right? Don't even think of going outside. It's great inside weather, great Netflix weather. Now, okay, as a result, however, this information is much more significant because, again, it's road, air traffic, farming, agriculture, natural disasters, emergency proposers, and responsiveness, that type of stuff. Sorry, purposes and responsiveness. As a result, the form is unexpected, definitely. And the information that we expect from our comprehensive radio stations, because you are factual, you are where it's happening real time. And where am I going to go first if I need information? A radio station, because they tend to want know what's happening on the go. If we look at more extreme situations, when South Africa, we're not there yet. We're kind of nice. I mean, the country has really nice weather. We're not like the Australians who, I mean, if you go to certain parts of Australia, even the animals, I mean, the animals they will not be in the sun at, let's say, certain times of day because it will kill them, right? And it's not because of the type of animal, animals in general. People in I said the Mediterranean areas when it hits like the high of summer. So we're seeing heat waves in Europe, no, like for example in America, 53 degrees, 53 degrees, 53 degrees. You can't breathe in that type of weather. A lot of people actually have strokes. They have heat. You also have heat strokes, right? As well. It can affect your health in many different types of ways. So if you are uh, uh, I don't know. There's many situations or many I say medical indications that can be affected by like extreme weather, extreme cold, kind of that frost, kind of that snow, kind of that again. Um, People go and they do what do they call them now? Siestas, right? So I know like my family that is in Greece and in Cyprus. That was so foreign for me. The first time I actually went there was cognizant, so as an adult, right? And my cousins would come home for lunch, and I would be like, "That, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? You're coming home from work?" And they would be there for like 2 hours, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, because that's the siesta time, right? Yes, it's also it's a great way for just more. It's just more, I'd say, luxurious living. It's a higher quality of living. I understand that, but they also work later hours and they'll work till let's say 7 or 8 o'clock. But the main reason is actually because people cannot operate at that time of day. I'm saying they themselves physically because it is way too hot. Rather go home, rather go get replenished over there, come back. And the thing is that everyone kind of knows that as well. The shops kind of close as well. Your retailers, your kind of their the little quick stores at the petrol stations, that type of stuff, right? Will close, and people know that. They understand. All right. Again, lifestyle. Here we have had some incidents of hurricanes, some incidents of tornadoes, some incidents of devastating floods, but predominantly South Africa is something that is palatable weather, something that we can and we do enjoy, and we don't really have a need to complain about, right? Okay. So if you look at page 205, quickly. I'm going to go to 205. I'm going to read a little bit more so you can see the conversational element of it. So in Gauteng, you can experience cloudy and cool conditions with isolated showers and thunder showers, but scattered in the extreme southwest of the province. Johannesburg's minimum today is 10 degrees Celsius with a maximum of 24 degrees Celsius. Tshwane's minimum is going to be 8, while we can expect a maximum temperature of 25 at about 2 o'clock. In Mpumalanga, there'll be a fog along the escarpment at first, otherwise cloudy and cool but warm over the low veld with isolated showers. Mbombela's minimum temperature will be 10 degrees with a maximum of 30 at late afternoons, and so on and so forth, right? So you can go and see that it is very friendly, it's helpful, it's detailed, and it's definitely something that you can put together, not just willy-nilly, but rather put some effort into it. Because once again, you want to put effort into your listener. Your listener will appreciate it, they'll love you more for it, and they'll stick around for longer. Here are some multiple choice questions to test for yourself. Choose the best one according to the text. Right, traffic and weather reports are best delivered by one, experts in these areas, someone who sounds likable and conversational, a traffic cop or meteorologist, or the radio show announcer. So they all kind of similar and they all have pros and cons, right? Which one would you choose? Right. It's definitely not going to be uh number number two or B. It could be a traffic cop or meteorologist, but do they really have the gift of gab and being able to like only, well, one, obviously communicate information properly, or, be able to keep it concise. Hmm. Experts in these areas, or the radio show announcer, one of those two. A listener getting dressed for work in the morning would be most interested in what? Whether a low or a high pressure system is causing the current conditions, the low temperature for the evening, what it's like outside, with high temperature yesterday. I think that one's a little bit easier than the first. The best way to describe a traffic jam on the metro bypass would be: our eye in the sky reporter tells us an 18-wheeler is flipped on its side, blocking lanes of the metro bypass. Let's look at number B. Everything is clear right now on the metro bypass. Cars are piling up on the metro bypass, or we have unconfirmed reports of a motorist going the wrong way on the metro bypass. Right. So I think a little obvious, right? Just because what is asked of you. True or false? Number four. Where is the most important fact listeners want to know in a traffic report? That doesn't really actually make sense. So no, sorry, no. Where, not when or how, whatever. Where is the most important fact listeners want to know in a traffic report? It now makes sense, Chris. Okay. Traffic spotters are typically people who only want airtime. And give me a short answer for the following. Describe the ingredients of a good traffic weather report. Why are the listeners interested in these ingredients? How should these ingredients be mixed together to provide a traffic or weather report listeners will enjoy or find beneficial? And there you can see the key lecture points. So I am going to stop over there. Hope you learned something.